Hi guys, this is Tim Queen, and today we're going to talk about DM mistakes and why you are not getting any reply and any business from your private messages on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any social media network in the world. Now, mistake number one is you're not doing any research. This happens a lot, especially people sending generic messages, and they didn't even spend 1 minute of doing just a little bit of research about the person. And if you're sending something completely generic without doing any research, the person instantly recognizes this is a copy and paste message, and they also realize you didn't even bother doing a little bit of research up front. And I really want you to understand how important the research part is. It's basically you cutting through the noise. And the best way how I can explain this is we are looking at a very specific type of platform. We're looking at dating platform. And I talked to a couple of female friends, and when they're on the dating platform, they're getting hundreds of messages. But 95% of those messages are just something like hi or hi sweetie, hi cutie. And the thing is, all the guys sending those messages, they think they are super creative, but they're not. And what this creates is basically you're creating this filter where 95% of the people are instantly disqualified because they don't have anything interesting to say, because they just copy and paste. They probably go by the numbers. They just copy this to 1 girl, 2 girls, 3 girls, 5 girls, 100 girls, and hoping some girl will reply back to them. And then because they send it to 1,000 girls and they got 2 girls to reply, they're like, wait, this is really good working. Everyone should write this. But this is very, very wrong, as you get much better result if you actually look at the person's profile and you're finding something unique angle how you can approach this, ideally something that can overlap with yourself. If you're finding, for example, an interest, this is true in business and in dating as well. You find a commonality and then you're starting talking about this. This is just the door opener. Where this goes, nobody knows. But you want to not get the door smashed into your face because you said the wrong thing in the beginning. So doing your research about someone, when you want to do a business relationship, find out where the person is working. What is their job title? Do a Google search. What does this job title entitle? What do they do on a daily basis? Who are some of the customers of this company you're trying to reach out to? What are some of the products? What are their products solving? What can you see from looking at their website, their social media? What is not working or what might not be working? Where might they have challenges? How could you find an overlap? How both of you could work together to create a win-win situation? And then you can mention something very specific. The more specific, the more likely that the person will actually reply. Because when you're specific, you are suddenly not the 95% anymore. You're suddenly in the 5%. And then the brain wakes up, says wow, that's a different kind of message. I actually have to read this. It's not passing your filter. Normally people are just next, 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 and suddenly, it seems to be different. And suddenly their mind is focused on that and they pay attention. And that's what you want to have. You want to create this micro attention span where someone is snapping out from their trance and is actually reading what you have to say. This might turn into a business relationship, might not, who knows, but at least you have a chance to see if it could go somewhere instead of just having it dying before it could even get started. Now, mistake number 2 is no relevance. This often would have been resolved if you had done a little bit of research, but oftentimes I find that people sending messages trying to pitch something that it's obvious that is not relevant to the person. Give you a stupid example. Let's say I have this special supplement for my fish tank which will help the fish to live healthier, and then I'm approaching someone working at a manufacturing plant for bolts and nuts, and I'm trying to tell them about this incredible supplement for fish tanks. I mean, maybe the supplement is actually good, but it's not relevant to someone working in the nuts and bolts manufacturing plant. You see the point? You want to really make sure that something is relevant for them. So even if you were able to cut through the noise, if you don't have anything relevant to say or to offer, then you're wasting your own time and the other person's time. And the conversation will go nowhere, and you could have just spent the same amount of time talking to someone who's more qualified, who would actually need what you have to offer. So please think about the relevance. Don't just think about numbers. It matters. Your efficiency is much more important than getting this out to as many people as possible. Think about this. If you have something like a fish tank supplement, you want to find a community where you have people who own fish tanks or who own fish or into fishing. That's way more effective than sending a mass message to 1 million people. Seriously, how many people in the population own a fish tank? The number is probably quite small. But what happens is if you send this to every single person, a lot of people will perceive this as spam. If enough people press the spam button, your message will go into the spam folder for everyone else, even the fish tank owners. So it's really important to keep the relevance on point to make sure that you're not penalized by getting classified as spam. Now, mistake number 3 is you have no personalization. This is happening too many times. People sending me a generic message which says hi exclamation mark or any other variation of that. While it's not that difficult to realize that my name is Tim, and just by putting in the little bit of effort of figuring out like what is my first name, even sometimes when on some platforms you might not see the full name, but you could deduct it if you split Tim and Queen. Tim is probably my first name. So why don't spend a little bit of effort and a little bit of brain power to figure out like what is my first name? I put it in my username if it's not divided with a space in between as my name, and just address me by my name. This actually just shows you spent a little bit of extra time to figuring it out. If you have a spam bot, obviously the spam bot can't identify like what is the first name and last name. So they might send me something like hi Tim Queen as a username, and they think I'm not going to notice this. Like who addresses someone by their username? Like where are we? It's obviously automated. What you're trying to do here is you want to communicate to someone I'm not a bot. That's the purpose of automation. On some platform that is not enough yet. Like LinkedIn has a lot of automation tools which will just extract the first name and then put this into your name field. But there are other ways how you can personalize something in a platform like this. As an example, on LinkedIn, there are a couple fields which are known to be used by automation, which is the first name, the last name, the role title, the industry, and the company name. So think about avoiding all of this. I mean, you can use some of them, but no, if you're using just those 5, people will still or might still think you are a bot. So you have to find something that is outside this, at least one factor of personalization that you couldn't extract, that requires a little bit of brain power to process. Maybe you checked out their website or you saw one of their product names, mentioning the product name that they're working on, or mentioning something that can't be extracted from the profile, something they have written in a recent post, telling them that you read the post and this was really interesting, and finding an overlap, like something that you can contribute to what they had to say. And when you can get this personalized, you have a much higher chance of getting a reply and starting this conversation before it dies off right away, before it could even start. Mistake number 4, your message is too short. And when I say too short, this can be something like a 1 to 3 word message, just saying hi and then nothing else. And then people are okay, so why are you contacting me? I don't want to ask you because I feel you should tell me, because if I start asking you, you might pull me into a conversation and I'm trapped and I can't get out. So I'm not asking you. And that's exactly what's happening. People will not, they don't like this. You're just like saying hi. They want to know what you want from them, especially if they don't know you. Maybe if it's your best buddy, you are 30 years of friendship and you're just saying hi, and what you're basically doing is you're waiting for someone to come online. That's fine. But if you're in a business context and you don't know the person, you don't just say hi or what's up, or you give a reason so the other person can evaluate if that's worth that time or if that's interesting or valuable to them. So too short is not working and you won't get any replies on that, at least from people who value quality. Mistake number 5, your message is too long. When I'm talking too long is you're basically submitting your entire life story before even establishing if the other person even wants to talk to you in the first place. This is something you don't want to do for a couple of reasons. So you don't want to write a message that's too long. For one, you don't know if the person is actually interested in that. So you might waste your time writing this entire long chunk and then the person is not replying because they feel you're overwhelming them or you're crazy, or for whatever reason they feel like, yeah, I don't want to spend the time reading your life story. Like I want to first get the executive summary. Like, what is the 1 or 2 sentence summary to make me interested enough to actually consider if I want to learn more about this or not. If your message is too long, you're not going to get any replies in any meaningful way. Keep it short and on point. Think about the most important commodity of the executive. It's time. So respect that time and make it easy for them to get to a conclusion quickly within 2 to 3 sentences to evaluate if they want to hear more or not. So mistake number 6 is using corporate speech in your direct messages. And when I'm talking about corporate speech, it's very formal business writing or something that has been crafted by the PR department of your company, which sounds like an obvious sales pitch right away. And just this using this language will create a barrier where people don't want to listen to you, or they just tune out right away and say like, okay, next, because just the way it sounds implies that it's not relevant to them, that it's a sales pitch. So they don't want to be sold because they don't know where the value is. They don't have the relationship with you. So there is like neither the value nor the relationship that could make them listen to what you have to say. So by just starting out with like a corporate sounding language, which implies that you have something to sell, or that it's not even like your own words, it's just copy and paste. That's something that the PR department has crafted. So avoid this at all costs. Use normal human language when you talk to other people. We are people. We are not some special species. So talk to people like normal people and you will get much more replies. And remember, the key is we want to get people, we want to open the door, we want to get the foot in the door to start the conversation. There is no need to pitch right away. It's more important to get the conversation started, and you will only get it started if you actually talk like a normal person. So mistake number 7 is following a script. Now I see this a lot of times. People have this like script that someone has worked out in their sales department, which goes something like this, like, hi, and you ask like, so what do you do? And then it says, let the person talk, and whatever they say, and then you say, here's what I have to say. So that they have like this strategy where they say, okay, start with an introduction, say like, hi, ask them what they do, then they say whatever, and then you have actually the opportunity to start your pitch. So this is really bad. It tries to fast track the relationship building by pretending to be interested in someone, and people can sense that. Especially forget about your scripts. Think about the relationship building part first, and then decide when to transition to a sales approach depending on the depth of the relationship that you have established. Now, when I say depth, let me explain what I mean. When someone gives you a script, they assume after a certain conversation, they are more ready to listen to you. But every person is different. What you should focus on, like how comfortable has the person has to feel in order for them to be willing to listen to what I have to sell to them, or how much do they have to understand the value? What is the percentage of understanding the value proposition? So they don't mind to learn more about this because they see the value, how the sales pitch could give them more value. So think about like having a specific value in mind, your target value, and then building the relationship up to that point when people are comfortable. It's really important that you find like what is like the indicator for you that tells you someone understands 70% of the value proposition and as such would be ready to buy. Like what do you have to tell them? Which dominoes do you have to knock over for them to see this to get to 70%? And then once you have this dynamic point of understanding, this might take 5 minutes for one person, might take 3 days for another person. And then you personalize your approach and send it to the person who sees the value quicker, earlier, and later to the person who takes a little bit more time. This is far more effective than starting right away with like a sales script, which is not taking into account however the person is reacting on the other side. Like you can, if you follow a script, there is no dynamic inside. There's no way for the script to know, is someone like ready? Did they understand it? Should we maybe talk a bit more about this? Maybe they need a little bit more time to feel more comfortable with you. The script can't tell you this. So you have to get this internal metrics where you evaluate like where is someone in the buying journey? What is their buying temperature? Is this like a person which takes a little bit longer and slower, or is this someone like instantly up? It depends. You have to find this out for yourself and then base your replies based on your perception. How is the person reacting to you, not following a script? Mistake number 8 is the instant sale. And I see this a lot of times on LinkedIn invitation messages. Someone is even putting the sales pitch in the invitation message and saying like, hi, blah, blah, blah. I offer this. You can check this out on my website, and they're putting like a URL inside. And this is just too soon to ask for the sale. If you're on a social media network, the name implies that it's a social network. And the aspect is on building a relationship, business relationship, friendship, whatever you want. But the aim is to build a relationship first and then to see if there is a need. And then once you have determined the need and you have communicated the value, or allow them to see how important it is for them to get something done or to fix a certain aspect of their business, then you can sell them. If you're sending out your sales pitch in your invitation message or in your first message, you didn't even talk to people, and they think, oh no, that's one of those like stupid salespeople who try to sell me some stuff. They don't even listen to your pitch because they are in defense mode, and you want to get them out of defense mode, because when they are in defense mode, they don't listen to you. It's like kind of like they're putting their finger here and you're trying to sell them something and they don't hear you. You want to get them to lower their guard, to put their hands down, to relax and to understand who you are. And once they're invested in terms of the relationship and in terms of understanding, they are far more likely to listen to what you have to offer. And then it becomes much easier to transition that into a sale. Now, mistake number 9 is being too pushy. And this is very similar to putting your sales pitch right into your invitation message. So what I've seen is sometimes people putting their phone number in the invitation message and say, call me, I have something that you definitely want to hear about. Or they're sending me a connection request, I accept, and the first message is, yeah, let's hop on a call like in 2 hours time. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like, why don't you tell me like what you want to talk to me about in the phone call, at least, so I know if I can decide if I want to get on the phone call or not. But it's like, the other thing is like, we are in a digital age, and today people are not that comfortable getting on the phone anymore. It's kind of very intimate experience giving someone your phone number, getting someone in your ear. Most people start out with text messages and emails. So it's kind of like transitioning to the next stage. So what you want to do is you want to make them feel comfortable enough to move on to phase 2, to get on the phone. This is something where you really have to be careful about, that you don't overrun people. Yes, maybe you are a perfect salesperson on the phone, but you won't get the person on the phone if the person is blocking you right away and say like, no, what a crazy person, I don't want to get on the phone. And later they don't let me off the phone. That's kind of the experience, like what they're expecting when you're like very pushy. Is people worry about like, what if I start talking to this person and they are as pushy as asking for the phone call right away? They might be pushy in other ways. They might not be able to respect my personal space. They might not want to let me leave the conversation. They might keep me on the phone until I buy. This is creating a lot of friction that you could have avoided completely by just giving people the space to make the decision themselves. Once they understand the value, it's much more natural to transition to getting someone on the phone. But if you're pushing someone on the phone when there is no relationship, you're not going to get the person on the phone, and the person is going to block you off. They're going to get in super defense mode and not even listen. You don't even have the opportunity to warm them up because they're going to block all of that out, assuming you're like a crazy person who's just too pushy and has no social emotional intelligence. Now let me know in the comments, which one of the 9 tips did you find most annoying on social media? Did I miss out any other mistakes that people always make on social media? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to learn more about like how to write marketing messages and direct messages that actually turn prospects into happy customers, make sure that you subscribe and turn the notification bell on to get updates when I release my next video.